Hey guys, lately the internet has been going crazy about the AI in programming and specifically about Claude Code. Me and my friends over the last couple of years we've developed a service and I wanted to give a Claude some big task and see how it does. Let's get into it. So this is the service that we've developed. It's basically simplifying HR processes and accounting. Unfortunately it's in Russia, but I'm just gonna give you a quick tour explaining the tabs. So this is just a regular profile of an employee. Here you can look at all the other employees in the company. Here's just notification screen for your documents, working time. Here you can send your documents to any other people. This is just your working calendar. Here you can choose to send a vacation request. This is our task tracker. And here is just all the documents that we've ever sent. So as you can see, this is a pretty simple service, and for a long time we wanted to add a chat to it so that employees can just chat between each other. And it seems like a pretty big task to do, and we even had a guy starting on it and even implementing some code, but we've never tested it, we don't know the state of it, and it's just, we don't know if it's any good. That's why I wanted to give Claude Code the task to test the service, to build some simple interface around it. And if the functionality is missing some key points, then I would ask him to implement those as well. I should mention that the whole service is in C++, which makes it not as easy to develop as if it was in Python, but having it in C++ gives us some nice properties like performance and somewhat safety. Okay, so let's start using Claude. I already have it installed in my development machine, Claude, so it's here. I can ask him anything. But what I want to do is I want to first write like a big prompt so that it understands the whole scope of the task. And then I think I'm gonna let him ask me some questions if there is something unclear. And then I will ask him to just implement the whole plan and we'll see how it goes. So first I want to give him some context about the repository itself. First, brief introduction. You're in the monorepo, which contains code for the backend service of a web application that simplifies and streamlines HR and accounting processes of a small or medium-sized company. Just general context, right? Also giving some details about the system. So companies are put into their own workspaces, so there's no shared info between companies, and every employee has their own profile in the system. Okay, let's now explain the actual task and what we want to achieve here. So I said the service implements a bunch of features that are already used in production, including task tracking and document management. Now we want to add a new functionality, which is a messenger. The implementation is already there, but it's very raw and untested. It's also potentially missing some features that we want in the final product. Now, the main goal is to make the messenger production ready, test all of its features, and create a simple web interface to be able to manually test the messenger. Okay, so now I want to explain the structure of the code itself so that it can navigate it more or less confidently. So I'm going to tell that the service is built using some framework called userver, and I'm going to give a link to the documentation of this service so that he can read it and understand it better. Now I'm also going to give him the API specification that we have for our service. It's basically all of the functions that we have implemented. It's quite a big file, but it contains everything the AI should ever need. I'm going to say that this file is located here. I'm also going to point him to the main config file of the service and also the place where all of the code files are located. Now I also put some very basic messenger requirements that we want to have chats with potentially multiple users. Maybe it's just a direct messages chat. And when a user opens a chat, then he should see a history of this chat. And also it's important that the chats can only be with other employees of that same company. Now I'm also giving him some context on how our current implementation is done. Basically, we are using Postgres for keeping the chat history, and to make the messenger message delivery fast, we are using WebSockets. Now I'm also gonna give him the location of our tests and tell him how to build the service. Okay, that should be it. Let's start with an actual implementation plan. Okay, now since our database is in a private cloud and is protected, for testing purposes, we want to just spin up the local database. Okay, given some instructions on the Postgres setup. Okay, then he needs to spin up the service itself. Okay, now I want him to just make sure that what he spun up in steps 1 and 2 works by just making some API calls to the messenger. Okay, then I also told him to write Python tests for the messenger and make sure that it works as intended, and then afterwards to build a simple web app for me to be able to test the messenger interaction. Okay, I think that should be it, and let's try and start with Claude. Actually, I think one more thing is I want to give him instructions that while he implements, just to make sure that he does one step at a time, that he doesn't rush through all of them, and that if there's any like something non-trivial that he spent time on one step, that he just documents it, and that he doesn't spend time on it anymore during other steps. Okay, I think now we're ready to start. Okay, so this is the prompt that I've come up with. I basically want to give this task that I wrote down to the agent, and I want him to ask some clarifying questions to not just rush into the implementation. And when he learns his way through the code base, he will create another file, plan.md, in the same folder. And here it will be a much more detailed explanation with like points in code, where to look at, stuff like that. And then I will give this plan to another agent to execute. Okay, let's start. Okay, I can see that he ran 3 agents in parallel to explore the code base. Okay, now it seems like he wants to verify that he has all the tooling he needs to implement the plan. Okay, now it seems like he has some questions and I need to clarify them to him. Okay, submit answers. It seems like it has come up with a very detailed plan. It seems pretty cool, to be honest. Okay, now that we have such a detailed plan, I think I'm gonna just kill this agent that created it, because I think it bloated his context. I'm just gonna start fresh. Let's see what it does. Seems like it spun up the Postgres instance, and now it tries to apply some migrations to it. Nice. Okay, great. It seems like step 1 is completed. Okay, then let's kill this agent and start another one for step 2. Okay, just the same prompt, but step 2. Okay, it documented the progress on step 2. It was able to connect, it was able to start the service, it was able to connect, it was able to send a message to the chat. He also managed to connect via a WebSocket and found some bugs. Let's now kill the agent and start with step 3. Okay, it seems that during step 3, it found a couple of bugs and issues in the current implementation, which do seem like legitimate bugs. So I think I'm gonna just ask him to, before proceeding with the next step, just fix those bugs and verify that it now works correctly. Okay, now I'm just gonna ask him to fix the bugs. Let's go. it seems like it was quite complicated for him to do without planning, so he decided to do like a separate plan for that particular step. And that's how it looks like. Okay, the plan seems legit. Let's run it. Okay, so it claims to have fixed all of my bugs and issues. It honestly struggled for a little bit because I had to rebuild the service like 3 times or so. And it had it failing on startup, but I mean 3 times isn't that bad. So now it all seems fixed, all the issues are gone. It documented them. Yeah, I think we can kill this session and continue with the next step. Step 4, let's go. That's so cool. He managed to create a lot of tests for my messenger, and now I can see them in this file. There's like really a lot of them. Now I know that my messenger is working properly. Okay, let's now start with step 5. Okay, so on step 5, it managed to build the whole app to test my messenger. This is like a lot of code. All of this in one prompt. It's kind of crazy. Let's test the app. Looks like this. We have different chats. We can create a chat. Okay, so I guess this all works now. All of the bugs are fixed. We now have a web UI. We have a lot of tests. And yeah, the Claude in 5 attempts made me a working messenger, a web UI to it, and generated a bunch of tests. I mean, it's pretty insane, to be honest. Okay, let's commit those changes and see how they look. 2,300 lines of code. That's probably like a week of developer work. So this is all it generated. The whole web app. That's still a web app. Fixed some data. This is the prompt. This is the actual code that it fixed. So he created a handshake because previously the messages weren't authorized. Okay. Also some bug fixes. Another bug fix. Another bug fix. A lot of unit tests. And that's it. I mean, like all of this was done in probably like around 2-3 hours. But if I was doing that, I mean, I have no skills of like of writing a web app. So for me, it would take like easily over a week. So it's very powerful tool for sure. I guess if you're not using it, you are lagging behind. This is it for today's video. You can clearly tell that Claude is really powerful, and I strongly advise you to try it out because it's like really a huge time saver. I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.